It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays, and I've still got my camera in the wrong place. There we go. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And we are talking today about when your comfort thing isn't comforting anymore. And this is a companion to Mondays, because I try to do that, because, hey, people always roast me. They rip me for fucking Monday. And so I can do something here. Far fewer people like it because, YouTube, mental health, enragement is engagement. It's a bad fit, right? But I do want to talk about when your comfort thing isn't comforting anymore. Because this is something, I've come to the realization that I'm just sort of detaching from a lot of things. I hear a lot of people going, I just want She-Hulk to go away. I'm sick of it. And these are people who really like the show, but they're tired of the fucking screaming. So you guys win. People are beaten down. Hope you're happy. That's not you guys. That's the thank heavens. I realized I was on Twitch last Tuesday and somebody wanted to see the Moomin for some odd reason in the back. But I looked at all the stuff on like my various and assembled nerd stuff thing that used to be really obscure crap and no longer is. The Watcher, he's kind of there. They haven't done Plastic Man yet, but like the Watcher, and I got a Dr. Fate HeroClix, and then Mr. Miracle next to him. They haven't done that yet. But Power Girl, not yet, but Hawk Girl. She-Hulk, HeroClix, that's been back there forever. They haven't done Beast Boy yet, but Moon Knight. Moon Knight's a normie thing now. Like all MODOK's a fucking series, not a very good one. But this used to be obscure stuff. And it's not anymore. And the first thing this happened to me was Lord of the Rings. When Lord of the Rings went from being books that I mostly talked about with guys to movies that women loved. And these were not the same experience. Because, of course, guys wanted to talk about the battles and, the linguistics of it and the world building and all that stuff. And girls were all about the shiny haired elves. And, I'm like, and that's not cool of me. It was made for them. That's why they were so successful. I get it. But that was when I started having to decouple with holding on too tightly to this stuff that was a private comfort growing up when people were really fucking shitty to me. People are still really fucking shitty to me. But, it was a private comfort. Now it's mass media popular culture. And so it's not comforting anymore because everybody tells me I'm wrong about my take on it. So, if you like this kind of content, I don't think I've done the help support this channel. I got right into it. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. If you like this content, please kick me a few bucks because, like I said, YouTube hates this algorithm. YouTube hates this stuff. I might have done that before. Sorry, I'm really tired. I've been really pushing hard lately. So Lord of the Rings was the first one I can really remember where my comfort thing wasn't comforting anymore. And then Gears of War started becoming about pretty young people instead of pug ugly dudes. And that wasn't comforting anymore, right? So I kind of drifted away from that, not as big on it. BioWare stuff. Oh, God. I was obsessed with BioWare stuff. And then the damn dialogue wheel came in and I started having to decouple because it wasn't comforting anymore. I felt railroaded whenever something makes me feel like it's pushing me to conform. instead of letting me be weird, it's not comforting anymore. I guess the Bryan Singer X-Men films were before that. These are all the things that I used to be obsessed with. I mean, I talk a lot about how Beast in the 97 X-Men cartoon and Lion-O and Thundercats when I was a kid. You know, obviously Lion-O came around before Beast, but good 10, 12 years. But it's like, that's me. 10, 12 years? More like 10 or 11. Yeah. It's like, that's me. That's me represented in media. I get that. You know, he's smart. He reads Shakespeare. I was already reading Shakespeare by that point. Yeah, I loved it. But he's smart. He reads poetry. He reads Shakespeare. He's a sweet, gentle guy, and everybody treats him like a monster, and he's mean to him. That's me. I want blue fur because I feel like people stare at me like I have blue fur. That was me. And Lion-O was a ginger, and he was a kid that had to be a leader very young. He had to grow up, and, you know, all of a sudden, the kids, you know, Wile E. Kit and Wile E. Cat, who are the same age as him, all of a sudden aren't peers anymore. I related to that. But then Thundercats Roar happened, and the Bryan Singer X-Men thing happened. And the Bryan Singer X-Men thing was the first one that really got me. It really ripped my guts out. I was hurt. I was angry. And it was because, I mean, Hugh Jackman was great, but Mystique was mute. I don't know why I always connect to people who are like green or blue. Hulk, Martian Manhunter, Loki, Beast, Mystique, Nightcrawler. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Maybe it's because those characters were proxies for minorities, because in the age of, you know, the really tight comics code restrictions and racist editors, you couldn't put black or brown people in books. So they had to be green or blue or pink or, you know. And so the othered character was the one I connected to. Not because I'm saying I'm a person of color. You know what I mean? Just, it was the person who was othered. But yeah, I think Mystique was practically mute. She says a few words, but Deathstrike was mute. And I'm like, fucking shit, man. And X2, I'm just like, that's it. I'm fucking done. It, you know, the Wolverine Deathstrike fight in X-Men 2 is excellent, but the movie as a whole, just, X-Men wasn't comforting anymore. They were in black suits, and it was all really super violent, and all of the things about helping and protecting a world that hated and feared them was gone. It was X-Men versus Brotherhood of Mutants. And I thought Magneto in the cartoon was friggin' perfection. And as much as I like Ian McKellen, I never adapted. And then we got to He-Man. And I have been trying to wait to see if the urge to sell all my He-Man shit goes away. It's not going to go away. I'm going to sell my stuff when the next season of that cartoon comes out, because like the prices go up when it's active. But it's just collecting dust now. The vitriol and the fighting and the rage and the nastiness surrounding that new cartoon took away all my comfort and all my joy from it. And people are like, you can't let it happen. Sometimes it just does. Sometimes it just does. Then it happened with Sandman. Oh my God. And I actually kind of hated myself for ever liking Sandman because of the show, because he's so abusive. And I was just so chilled. And I don't know if it was because I was like 16, 17 years old, or because it's live action. The guy's like scowling and it's worse, or if all the race and gender swapping just made the abuse that much more obvious, because now it's all targeted at women of color, rightly or wrongly. it's more obvious what a dick Dream is. And I mean, okay, part of it is that Corinthian is way more terrifying in the comics than he is in the show. I was kind of rooting for Corinthian. I got it. Dream's a dick. Why wouldn't you want to escape him? But so that's gone. You know, so you do, oh, this is a lot of loss. But then I'll go back and read an 80s Hulk comic or a 70s Iron Man comic or Robert Willing, Starcraft, I think that's right, on Twitter, but I've been on Robert's streams before. He has this thing called Pro Teaches Noob where he does like a comic book, and we did one on a Galactus Darkseid crossover from 1995, somewhere around there. But it was that era where they were doing some really cool DC Marvel crossovers. John Byrne did the art and the story, I think. I don't know. But it was just awesome classic comics. And even though it was mid-90s, it was kind of an 80s throwback. Very, very inspired by definitely Jack Kirby, some Steve Ditko. You know, when the Todd McFarlane, Frank Miller style was on Vogue, there was this really cool form. You'll notice I'm wearing my Galactus shirt. Yeah. But it was just good. It was comforting. It felt right. And it makes way more sense to run towards the things that are still comforting, and let the stuff go. And it's funny because, you know, Thundercats Roar was disappointing, but it looks so not like the toys that with Thundercats that it didn't break the spell the same way I still love Thundercats. Now, maybe it's because there wasn't that grotesque amount of fighting over it. I don't know. Or because it wasn't two waves, because we got the 2002 like reboot as well. So I've already been through this twice. But the one that's really getting away from me now is Star Wars. I can't believe I'm bored by Star Wars. I mean, Mandalorian season 3 is going to come out and it's probably going to be awesome. But they're saying they're going to make more like post episode 9 movies. It's like, oh my God, do not want. Like, I used to devour everything Star Wars. I mean, Song said to me, it might have been on one of the recordings, it might have been privately, but, you know, she keeps realizing that there are Star Wars things she has not seen. And that's weird, you know? And I'll see Marvel theatrical releases and they'll leave me kind of cold, but then the little Disney Plus shows like Werewolf by Night, so good. So good. Ted, so good, you know? And does this make objective sense in clear and concise ways? Not so much. Is it obvious that some things I still find comforting, some things I don't? Yeah, sure. And it's just not healthy to continue to try to fight for something once the thrill is gone. Because there is so much content out there, right? You know, I used to be massive into Batman, like ridiculous, massive, cosplayed the Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman when I was like 16 years old, and devoured No Man's Land, was way into it about the same time as that John Byrne Galactus Darkseid comic came out. No Man's Land was a little later. But I was so into Batman, so obsessed with, I mean, Poison Ivy was one, like, my first big, like, that's my character. Cause I'm even knew the pose. She's still back there. One of the, oh no, she's in the other display with all the other DC women. But I'm meh to irritated by Batman now. That happens, right? Superman, Lois and Clark, or Superman and Lois, awesome. Looking forward to a joyous Henry Cavill film, awesome, right? You know, there's plenty that I like, and then new things come along, right? Ghost of Tsushima, freaking revelation, and so disappointed by Last of Us 2, so stoked for Ghost of Tsushima, so sweet, right? Yeah, giveth, taketh away, right? I'm not going to sweat losing Last of Us 2 because I gained Ghost of Tsushima, right? Same with Star Wars. I'm not going to sweat the loss of quality. And you know what? It's not even a loss of quality. It's a loss of the parts of Star Wars I liked. Because people keep saying Andor is a mature, grounded Star Wars. And I don't want that. I want Baby Yoda and the freaking Ewoks and Look to the Horizon and pseudo no-name actors who are really super earnest and happy as a pig in shit to be there. All right? And that's what Mandalorian is, right? Grogu keeps it alive. And I mean, the simplicity of the stories just works for me. And so if other people like the of Andor, that's fine. I don't. Rings of Power leaves me cold. I'm about to attempt House of the Dragon, but going in very low expectations because Game of Thrones. Some people seem to love it though, right? But then I have, still love E.T. E.T. still holds up. Old Steve Martin movies still hold up. Only Murders in the Building is good too. Stranger Things and the Fear Street trilogy. The Expanse was amazing. Cobra Kai. I think that's got one more season, but we get one more season of Cobra Kai. Right. And then there's weird little things like that show Big Shot on Disney Plus. I freaking love that show. And then I watch silly network procedurals like Blue Bloods and The Rookie when I have time, and 911 for the stunts and Angela Bassett. But, that's enough. I only have time for an hour, maybe two, of anything at the end of the day anyway. So why would I sit here and be all big mad because something that I used to love disappointed me? And I talk about things on the channel, and there are certain things that just I think are wrong, when you depict, and I know I keep going back to Last of Us 2, but it's just tangible detail, right? Again, I use things people know, not necessarily because they stick in my craw. They're just examples that everybody knows. But this one actually did bother me that, it's a synagogue and there's a big speech about the synagogue and how she Dina instantly recognizes it and there's fucking crosses in it. That's just that hits a particular sore spot because of the Christianization of not only the Torahic stories, the Tanakh stories, but just sort of the Christianization of all religion. All religion is judged through the lens of religions that have appeared in the last 2,000 or so years. And there's so much more to it than that. And so that legit bugged me. But not that I'm torn up about it. There's other things to move on to that I say are great. I'd rather support Jennifer Hale than dunk on Helena Taylor, even though I think what happened there has come to light at this point. Jennifer Hale is a class freaking act. Great lady, has always been extremely gracious and classy. Every time I've encountered her, she probably doesn't even remember me because I don't remember how I was dressed. I'm sure I was some sort of character. It may have been Chitara. Mark Hamill was the same way, by the way. Stan Lee was always lovely. Rob Liefeld was really nice. Frank Cho, obviously. I still love his art. His art is still a great comfort. But comics in general aren't. I keep trying to read comics and I do it to stay current, but 95 backward, warm hug. Anything in the anything, and I don't know what it was about the Blackest Night Green Lantern saga that put me off. I drop out based on what I see coming, not necessarily. I stop before I'm miserable. I tried to get back on with Rebirth. I couldn't. And every so often I'll find this like one shot, like Superman Red and Blue. I love the Super Sons. They took it away, right? But okay. I enjoy it while it lasts. I find something else when it doesn't last, right? One person asked me, why do you have a rooster in your background on Twitch? And that's Chicharron from Far Cry 6, man. It's not, but it's the closest thing I could find. Because I stand Chicharron, right? That rooster makes me fucking laugh. And so, like, this is just stuff that makes me happy, right? Snorlax. And it's funny because Snorlax was like, I love Snorlax because he's a Pokemon that just slept, woke up to eat, went back to sleep. And everybody's like, you're weird. For the longest time that Snorlax was my favorite Pokemon. And now Snorlax is trendy. And again, why, Leanna, does it not validate you that the things you like are trendy? Well, because when something becomes trendy, when something becomes popular, people start telling me what to think and feel about the stuff I like. And I can't stand that. Because other people are allowed to think the things that they think about it. But I'm sick to death of people feeling attacked because I have a different interpretation on it. And, I mean, part of it is that when I worked in music programming, I went in 90s grunge, like rock music was bet rock and like serious hip hop and all this stuff. Pop was crap. You know, that's how I went in. And the rockers, with notable exceptions, Nickelback being one of them. If you listen to the Ed and Red podcast, Ed and I talked about this. But they were such assholes that I started listening to more and more pop because the pop acts were nice. Christina Aguilera and Hilary Duff and the Backstreet Boys and the NSYNC guys, except for Timberlake, they were nice. They were really nice guys and gals. And I like, all right, I saw how hard they worked. And I saw how they needed to do rehearsals and wardrobe changes and like all this crazy stuff. I had no appreciation of what went into a solid pop act. And so now I'm obsessed with people like Lady Gaga, Megan Thee Stallion, and people like that who are really focused on image, and Lizzo. I mean, Lizzo does a lot of very deliberate things. And I'm not about weird indie rock. Yeah, I'm there. I got a couple of like music nerd friends that we send shit to, and it's stuff no one knows, right? But things happen. And I mean, Gish, Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins were fundamental albums for me. Met the Smashing Pumpkins, dicks to me, can't get the same comfort from it anymore because it was a rejection, right? Green Day, same thing. Red Hot Chili Peppers. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were a bunch of fucking liars. Can't listen to them anymore. Dave Grohl was very nice, so I can still listen to Nirvana and Foo Fighters. Yeah, things go, things come, things go. That's life. And what that's taught me is it's very important to not cling to things too hard, because that's not comfort. That's a codependence. That's an unhealthy attachment, right? And I'm I don't know how to feel about attachment styles. I have some issues with the way things are subcategorized. I think there's more nuances to it than, but the basic principle of if you have secure attachments to things, you can let go when it's appropriate. And you can hold on and have it feel good when that's appropriate too. If you've got, if you're holding on too tight or you're too afraid to hold on, you end up not being able to enjoy anything. That people, food, places, experiences, you're never just there. And it's very, very important to check in and connect to simple bullshit pleasures. Those are really important. Song says all the time, just because you like something doesn't mean it's good. And it's funny because people really have, hello phone, people have a hard time with that statement. And to me, it's just, that's not holding on too tight. Right? That to me is not having to defend everything I like as high fucking art. Right? I can like something and not think it's genius. I can see what's good about something and have it not be my thing. Grand Theft Auto is in that category for me. That I can see what it does well. I don't connect to it. Not right or wrong. It's just not for me. But I won't say it's bad. Right? You know how I feel about The Sims. And here's the thing about The Sims. The Sims, the technology that runs The Sims is really, really impressive. The simulation code is really impressive. Just all the aesthetics of The Sims bug the ever-loving fuck out of me. It does legitimately the hey, soo, makes my skin crawl. It's just like, I don't know if anybody remembers when I played through Bugsnax on Twitch. And I was actually gagging at the cartoon freaking body horror vor. That was a legitimate reaction. By the end of the game, I'm like, all right, it's supposed to be horrifying. Cool. I came to love Bugsnax, though we did not get along at first. Cuphead, on the other hand, I don't care how many times that game kicks my ass. I love it. I love the show. Oh my God, it's also good. And so those things that, and this is not it's time to put away childish things thing. Obviously not. I will defend my childishness because that is also joy. But it's being adult enough to not be a child throwing a tantrum when that childish thing is no longer comforting. Learning how to self-soothe and finding new things that are happiness when the relationship you had with a past IP, with a past thing breaks down. That's an important point of resilience, and it is learned. And that's I think people think that this is just stuff you should be able to do. And, me, I learned it getting canceled out of comics. My tits were too big for a convention called TCAF. My Power Girl costume was considered a disgusting display, and I was publicly shamed by the organizers because I presented at the Joe Shuster Awards, the JSAs, as Power Girl as a joke. Oh, I didn't get the memo. That was disgusting. That hurt. I still remember that. And that was when I started going, okay, the comics community, probably not for me. It's too toxic. And I think that it did me a favor because Comicsgate. But then, of course, smack dab in the middle of Gamergate, I I still love games, obviously, but the industry, the business, especially on the journalism side, is just not for me. I'm happy making my own. Well, it's not that little a game. It's actually quite a big game, but it's humble in the way it looks, right? It's humble in the basic mechanics. We have ambitions in other ways. But again, that's where I'm at right now. That's what's comforting to me right now, not the big AAA thing. I'd love to be part of a AAA team once, right? Just because it's so fucking cool. But it's not something I'm willing to fight to do. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, you know. I had the experience being a small part of a game with the modeling I did for Battle Station Specific. That was a great experience. But the media side, the press side, the discourse side, it doesn't want me. I don't want to be wanted. That's fine. You know? But I've been coming to start feeling rejected again with all the fighting about He-Man and She-Hulk and all this stuff. I quite like the He-Man cartoon. The screaming. And you know what? I liked it. I did feel like the first half of the cartoon was too much death. And I saw it was coming, so I was sort of numb to it at the time. But would I go back and watch it again? No. Would I rewatch Cuphead or Arcane? Abso-fucking-lutely. Those are great shows. I can watch The Boys over and over and over again, as violent as that show is, because it's so well constructed. I love that show. But, you know, I was starting to feel rejected again and starting to feel like really beat up. I talked about last Friday. And so going back and reading that stupid Dark Side Galactus comic, just soul nourishment. Whoever thought Galactus could be comforting, the big devourer of planets, just says a lot about me, right? I mean, his shirt's devouring my planets. Never mind. But yeah, that's adulting. And it's not adulting and serious. You must be serious about the serious things, right? No, I'm not enjoying this. Time to walk towards something I do enjoy. And then it gets into the, they're not going to drive me away. Leaving isn't driving away. And this is when I think of the quote, don't get mad. Don't get, revenge. Just get done. If something is not comforting anymore, if something is not making you happy, and that includes places, jobs, other people, hobbies, there will be another thing that you will connect to. I promise. I know you've invested a lot. God, you should see the sheer amount of my He-Man shit. But at this point, it's like, I think I might enjoy the things I could buy with the money more by selling it. And I'll certainly enjoy less clutter. It just doesn't... I'll keep a few things, but I've got, all the vehicles and a ton of play sets, and what enjoyment am I getting out of it? Fucking nothing. I've got figures that I can't put in the sun because they'll turn orange. That's stupid. I used to enjoy knowing they were there and reclaiming shitty parts of my childhood through them. It doesn't do that anymore. So, other things do. Because welcome to the Cuphead show. Welcome to the Cuphead show. That's not even there. Got the heebie-jeebies. Cuphead's good. Watch Cuphead. Okay, everybody. Hope you found this useful. It's sort of a way to do a thing that people say you should do but never tell you how to do it. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it, can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. If you enjoyed this content, please kick me a couple bucks because YouTube does not like this content in terms of the algorithm, but I like doing it. So thanks for watching and be well.